Once the tournament began, all 5 pairs dashed in different directions. Gotenks, still excited about the earlier challenge, begins running straight for Caulifla, shouting and waving his hands, much to Boo's disappointment. While Caulifla is interested in fighting him, she can also spot the ambush that Universe 9 was setting up, and so chooses to watch from afar. Just as Gotenks gets within blasting distance of the female Saiyan, several furries, Universe 9 fighters, jump him. The trio de danger use a combined ki blast to injure the fusion, Gotenks stumbling back while Basil leads a few fighters in for a combo attack. While the fusion is being smacked around, his opponents gloat about their power, saying that a mere brat couldn't stand up to people who have survived the cesspool, which is Universe 9. A Boo clone watches on, smirking as he notices something that the others failed to catch. The fusion is finally thrown against the hard floor of the tournament, Basil having kicked him with such force that a crater formed. All 10 warriors lined up, preparing to blast Gotenks out of the ring, only for him to raise a hand up into the air. Suddenly, 10 rings of energy expand around his opponents, locking them all in place, aside from Bergamo, who absorbs the energy. Using Goten's ki control, the Saiyan flings most of the fighters up into the air and directly out of the ring. All that remain are Bergamo, Basil, Hop, and Chappie, though the weaker fighters expended a lot of energy just to escape. "Looks like this brat showed you guys. Not that it takes much to beat a bunch of stupid animals." Gotenks closed his eyes and began to laugh, blatantly taunting his opponents. Basil, Hop, and Chappie immediately charged in, screaming that he'll pay for disrespecting them like that. The fusion jumps back, landing on his hands and using both legs to kick Hop and Chappie away, before flipping back a few feet to avoid Basil's kick. Bergamo tries to reel his brother back in, saying they'll need to regroup to beat such an opponent, and this does cause his brother to hesitate, but that's just what Gotenks wanted. With a flick of the wrist, 2 spheres of ki burst from the Kachikachin, uppercutting Basil and sending him high into the air. They go for a follow-up attack, one which was intended to wring the wolf out, but Bergamo jumps in the way, absorbing several ki blasts and growing in size. The fusion notices this, but he can't dwell on it for too long, immediately launching 2 more blasts to wring out the other opponents. He's able to eliminate Hop, even if he dislikes injuring a cat girl, but Chappie tanks it like a champ. Gotenks is about to run down the dragon, but Bergamo launches a powerful beam at the boy, forcing him to block instead, which allows Basil to run up and kick him right into the clutches of Bergamo. Instead of running, the fusion instead dashes forward, starting to throw hands with the wolf, only for him to grow stronger with every hit. Gotenks is confused about why Bergamo would leave himself open to attack, but when spotting his smirk, the danger he's in becomes apparent. The wolf uses his increased strength to restrain the fusion, while Basil runs in to deliver the mother of all kicks directly into the Saiyan's skull. This, along with a follow-up volley of ki blasts from Chappie, seems to knock Gotenks out, who's now limp in Bergamo's arms. The wolf admits that Gotenks was tricky, but he showed off his abilities way too early, which allowed them to form a counterattack. Bergamo walks towards the edge, holding Gotenks over the void, telling him it was a good fight before letting go. The fusion suddenly comes back to life, wrapping a ki whip around the wolf's wrist and flinging himself between Bergamo and the other 2 warriors. With a quick ki, Basil and Chappie are blown back, while the blue wolf seems to grow slightly in power. This confirms to the fusion that all energy is fair game, which is something he can work with. Gotenks begins rapidly raising his power, going into Super Saiyan 2 and then launching a torrent of blasts directly at Bergamo. This only causes the wolf to start laughing as soon he's completely towering over Gotenks and prepares to fire back with all the energy he's gathered, only for several giant galactic donuts to wrap around his face and arm. These don't last long as they're quickly absorbed, but when the wolf can see again, all he sees is the void before him. In the split second he'd been blinded, Gotenks cut out a large chunk of the ring, causing Bergamo to fall through it. The fusion then jumped off the ground and landed a powerful punch to the wolf's chest, sending him further into the void and securing the elimination. Unfortunately, this meant Gotenks would be cutting it close as he'd only barely land on the edge, which is what Basil was waiting for, preparing to kick Gotenks out into the void. The fusion had nearly beaten a whole universe by himself, and yet, right when he was at the finish line, he'd get beaten? If only he'd played it smart like Gohan and Piccolo would've. If they survive this thing, Gotenks swears to do better in the future. Just as he takes a powerful kick to the chest, a rubbery pink hand flies in and grabs the boy, pulling him right back into the ring. Basil and Chappie are caught off guard, and Boo takes no chances, instantly throwing them out of the ring. "Boo, you were watching the whole time?" Gotenks rubbed his cheek, looking up at the genie. "Of course, I was assigned to be your partner, wasn't I?" Boo smiles down at the boy. "Thank Kami. Wait, if you were watching the whole time, why didn't you help me out? That guy kicked hard, you know." "I had to see if my student could handle himself or not. What can I say? I also enjoy a good fight." The genie chuckled, though a sudden explosion caught his attention, grabbing onto Gotenks and jumping out of the way, watching as a giant muscular woman charged through, locked in combat with Gohan of all people. The team captain had been targeted by Universe 6, and Caulifla had taken an interest in fighting another Saiyan, which Kale naturally got jealous of. She was on a rampage, and while Gohan could handle her in this state, she was rapidly increasing in power. Piccolo too was busy fighting off the Universe 6 Namekians, who had exceptional teamwork. With such strong opponents attacking them, this allowed for weaker fighters like Caulifla and Frost to land several sneak attacks, nearly pushing both Piccolo and Gohan to the edge of the ring. Gohan, watching his mentor being held down by the Namekians and fired upon by Frost, along with a clear resemblance to Broly that Kale had, well, he decides to pop off. Unleashing the beast, Gohan drives a fist nearly right through Kale, sending her flying off into a pile of rubble. He's about to follow up with a blast that sends her out of the ring, but Vegeta and Botamo get in the way. Now, those two are insanely powerful. Apparently Vegeta can withstand intense amounts of damage, but there's zero chances he's withstanding a special beam cannon. Gohan runs up on the two, putting his fingers directly against the Metal Man's stomach and blowing a hole right through him. This doesn't end the sensitive boy's life, but it does cause him to start crying, which leaves Botamo alone to fight against Beast Gohan. Yeah, they're both thrown out of the ring, something that distracts Salnel, who attempts to save his teammates. Gohan targets Piccolo, rushing in and landing a gut punch that makes the Namekian spit up, while Piccolo slices off Salnel's stretched out arm, which secures Botamo and Vegeta's elimination. This causes Gotenks to cheer on his brother and mentor, something that catches their attention for just a split second. Salnel looks over towards Piccolo, noticing that he's pretty much knocked out. He knows they're as good as eliminated, but there's still a chance, even if it meant sacrificing their warrior clan. Salnel put his hand on Piccolo, and with a bright flash of light, the two fused. Piccolo cursed himself for allowing this to happen, but stands ready for a fight either way, only for Frost to make his move. While both fighters were distracted, he ran in, keeping low to the ground, his tail up like a scorpion, ready to inject venom into the Saiyan. "Gohan!" Gotenks yelled out, causing the hybrid to turn just in time to see a needle only inches away from his chest. "Ah, curse that brat!" Frost was struggling to break out of several galactic donuts, powering up in order to do so. The Saiyan looked from Salnel, who was stabilizing his body, and back to Frost, who clearly had more tricks up his sleeve if he'd been bold enough to run up on them. He tells Piccolo to provide support as he'd be the one to take on both of these opponents. However, the Namekian refuses, telling Gohan to focus on Frost as he'll be the one to beat Salnel. Even Gotenks is surprised by this request, but Boo, telepathically, tells both Saiyans to trust in their mentor, as he can do this. Well, It's not like Gohan can argue at this point, since he can tell Frost will be a tough opponent to beat, but he does wish his mentor luck. Gotenks is about to jump in to help, but Shosa and Majora attack him from behind, their combined attack nearly throwing the fusion out, him yelling at Boo for not alerting him about these fighters.
What? I won't be around forever. You should have learned from your fight with Universe 9. I'm pretty sure you're immortal, but whatever. I don't know what it is with me and wolves today, but I'll beat these guys and then I'll help Piccolo.
And so the fusion did. He easily takes care of the wolf coyote furry things from Universe 4. However, this catches the attention of Ganos, who's angered by the elimination of his teammates. Gotenks decides to eliminate this guy quickly as well, but when Ganos suddenly transforms, he's able to actually land a punch on the fusion's jaw. Of course Gotenks would get someone strong right after his fight with Universe 9. He transforms into Super Saiyan, landing several strong punches on the Birdman, getting him closer and closer to the edge of the ring once more. However, like in the anime, Ganos is growing from a tough battle, and soon he's able to dodge a punch or two, then catch Gotenks' fist, and finally lands a punch of his own. The fusion had no idea why he was getting all the opponents that grew during battle, but he was sick of it. Looking to Boo for some support, though the genie simply shrugged. In truth, the bubblegum monster had left less than 1% of his power in this clone, basically to just watch over the fusion and heal him if need be. The real Boo had snuck off and was watching over Universe 11 and their fight with Vegeta and Pui Pui. The Saiyan, recognizing that Jiren was clearly the strongest warrior there, had wanted to challenge him to a fight, but Toppo and Dispo proved to be adequate challenges for the pair. The other members of Universe 11 had gone off and made contact with Universe 10, eliminating the entire team with some help from Kaba and Caulifla, who were now engaging the Pride Troopers. Boo didn't feel the need to track such a battle, but he could tell that Kale was off being healed by Dr. Rhoda, which means she'd get a decent boost in power upon waking up. Such a foe would prove detrimental to their universe, especially if her power kept growing as it did before. But before he could make a move, a giant power appeared behind him.
You're strong, stronger than any other mortal here. Perhaps joining this tournament wasn't a waste of my time.
Boo turned around to see Jiren, holding a blast directly to his back. An explosion rocked the entire ring, causing most fighters to stop in their tracks, if only to wonder if the power they sensed was even real. The Boo clone left behind with Gotenks began to melt, able to feel the damage his primary body had suffered. Usually the real Boo would turn to sludge and slither away, but Jiren wasn't messing around, launching another blast to get rid of the rubble he was using for cover.
Fight me, demon, for if you fail here, your universe will perish.
Boo looked up at the alien and could tell that that was a promise. If he couldn't find a way to beat Jiren, Universe 7 would be erased. But that's where we'll be leaving things off for right now. If you enjoyed the video, maybe you'd like some of the other content on my channel. But even if you don't check that out, thank you for getting this far into the outro. You guys have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye-bye.